Very hot, very caliente. Time to get hot, caliente. Time to get very hot, hot, caliente. Very caliente. It's time to pump up the volume and live and love and laugh with Pablo, Alsina, and Jennie López. Very Caliente podcast begins now.
Very Caliente. Welcome, everybody. Bienvenidos to your favorite show, Very Caliente, with my co-host, amazing Pablo Alsina, and myself, Jennie López. Pablo, I am so excited about today's guest. You told me about it a couple weeks ago, and I just couldn't wait. Tell us more about him.
Usually our guests are Hispanics, but since he's an immigrant also, it also plays an amazing world-renowned actor, magician. You've seen him in hit shows like Crossing Jordan, where he starred in. He's also now a star magician in his show in Reno, Nevada. Steve Valentine, what an absolute honor to have you on here.
Hey, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Good to be here, everybody.
Actor, magician. I believe like you came out of your mom's womb and everybody gave you a standing ovation. I think it's performing.
Yeah, it was really hard getting the hat up there, but you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, no, I was, my mom was a dancer and an actress, in her younger years. And I think that, and she kind of quit that to raise the kids. But I always think that was kind of her dream coming through me in a way. She was incredibly supportive, and here we are, and here we are just doing everything I love to do. I don't like to get like boxed in with stuff. You know what I'm talking about, right? You just like, you just kind of, everybody in LA wants to box you in. It's, what are you? Are you an actor? Are you a writer? Are you? And I'm like all of the above and more, because especially now when the business is changing, it's just so great to be able to segue between things. So the magic has helped. Now I'm here in Reno doing a show called Cirque Alice. I've never done a Cirque kind of show before, I played the Mad Hatter, which is kind of crazy. And then these are the same guys that did Now You See Me Live and The Illusionists. And so we'll take that to London at some point and we'll take it on tour. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time always.
I love it. You got me whenever
When you're an actor and a magician, it's the same thing. You want people to believe what they're seeing. So I believe you're just a performer, and I believe this world is a better place because of people like you in it, Steve. Thank you so much. Jennie, take it away with your first question.
Yeah, no, I was saying that he was speaking my language whenever you say everybody wants to put you in a box. That's exactly what I talk about. So just can tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, the more I hear you, I think it was a transition to say, this is it, I'm going to go all in. Can you tell us a little bit about when was the time that you said, this is it, I'm going to go all in being a magician?
Well, I remember being, as a kid, I was doing magic and dance and acting in England. And then when I was 19, I decided to go I'd been DJing in the former Yugoslavia. I was DJing for a little bit, like the old school DJ, like with 2 records and here's Whitney Houston. Nothing like what we see today with it. None of that. It was
just scratching in Yugoslavia, those things.
Not much. No, I was maybe by accident. I was scratching them by accident. But, and then the war came and so I had to get out. So I got back to England and I ended up going on a cruise ship to America and deciding to stay in Hollywood and try and make it as an actor, and didn't know anybody. But all of my friends were always telling me that, one of us should go to Hollywood one day. All my British actor friends were saying one of us should go knock on some doors and see if we can make it, show them how it's done. And it was a journey of complete naivete. And I think that I've always had that kind of somewhat slightly delusional thing of like, why not me? If everyone else is successful, why can't it be me? Which is interesting because when you grow up in England, you grow up in a on the whole, there's an atmosphere of like, well, who do you think you are? If you want to do something, like you want to be an actor, you want to be a host, you want to be who do you think you are? So for me, it was get out of that, get away from the negativity, and go and see if I can, the couple of $1,000 in my pocket, not much more. So it was a journey for sure. And it took some time and some positive, just kind of, I always call it calm ambition, kind of like, it's going to happen. You're not quite sure when or how or with who or what's going to happen, but I always kind of kept at it. And magic was great because it kept me alive on the days when the times I wasn't working as an actor. And it just grew from there. And then the live stuff was interesting. In the last number of years, as TV and film has been morphing, and no one knows quite what's going on with it. I mean, I still do it. I just did a series of films for Paramount called Monster High, which were a lot of fun. Where
Awesome.
I got to
Congrats.
play Dracula again with this face,
So cool.
and yeah, it's a great series of movies. And but also like I quit magic for a while because of this box thing, because they, in order to be for them to feel more comfortable as to what I was. And now I'm back in doing I got to this point where I was like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be everything that you can be. And so the universe kind of kept nudging me in this direction, like weird things. I always call it bad writing, when the universe gives you these messages and you're just like, really? That's the best you can come up with? Come on, guys. That's, the license plate, the billboard, this lyric on the radio, and it all says the same message. And you're like, really? That's it? And so, and it's been great, and all these doors have opened up, especially with Simon Painter and the group here because he created The Illusionists, and Now You See Me Live, and this show especially, which we hope to take to London. So it's been wonderful. Yeah.
Well, you look really happy, and no pun intended, but there's something magical whenever you live in alignment, and that's what I get from you. Just getting to know you right now. Thank you for sharing the journey.
It's my pleasure. I think it's part of also kind of putting the ego aside a little bit and saying, okay, what is it that, you can try and go on these other paths and you'll get knocked back in this other direction. At some point you got to go, all right, I got the message. I'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. And I always feel that when you're trying to hold back a part of yourself because you're trying to please and appease other people, that part of yourself doesn't go away. It continues to grow in the closet. And when you finally open that window and open that door, there is a torrent of pent-up energy and the creativity that comes out of you. I didn't pick up a deck of cards for 10 years. And when I decided, and I was shooting this movie in New Zealand, and I literally bumped into a guy who was part of my magic club when I was a kid back in England, who moved his family to, and he had all this video from back in the old days, and it kind of inspired me to go back into it. But all these doors opened, all these people came back into my life, all of this bad writing happened. For example, I decided to write a one-man show, right, called Life and Other Deceptions. And the idea, it was this journey of going to Hollywood, having to quit magic, and then what brought me back full circle to making the one-man show that we're now sitting and watching. And in the play, I wrote about going to Hollywood, being on a cruise ship, how I got booked on a cruise ship, and how initially that got me to America, and then deciding to go to Hollywood and see if I can break in, and and how my friends in England, this one particular actress had said to me, like, you should go. You've got nothing going on in your life here. You should go to Hollywood, and which is I took. You can kind of take both ways. And so I'm doing the show. I'm finally doing the one-man show. One night, I look out in the audience. I'm talking about the guy that put me on the cruise ship. I haven't seen him since 1988. This is 2016. He's in the audience.
Wow.
He happens to be in the audience. And I said, wait a minute, Martin, you're the guy. You're the one who put me on the ship. And he looked up at me without missing a beat. He said, you've got better. So I thought it was great. And then a couple of nights later, I get a message on Facebook from my old friend Sue, who I hadn't spoken to since I left for America, who had actually said to me, you should be the one that you should go. She was in town. She's like, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm in LA with my boyfriend, and I see you on Facebook all the time. I'm really happy for you. And can we meet up? I'm like, come to the show. Come to the show. I actually got to do that moment where I'm like, and she's in the audience tonight. So I just feel like when you open those doors, all of these solutions also to problems you may have had in the past will come through.
Everything you're saying touches home to me. I mean, I've been a sports anchor my whole life, but I was always an actor. And I really, if you gave me a choice, I'd rather be an actor 100% of the time. But we both know how hard it is to be an actor full time. But being a sports anchor, I get to perform. So then you're saying all these about signs and bad writing. Man, are you so dead on? We see all these. Some people call it fate. We call it, other people, serendipity. But sometimes the writing is so bad, to use your character, the Mad Hatter, you kind of go down this rabbit hole. Like, am I supposed to follow these signs? So then I followed signs, and then the whole world came crashing down when I gave up being a sports anchor because of these signs. And then there was a writer's strike, an actor's strike, and everything fell apart. So then it became like, but then you kind of become addicted to the bad writing. So then when you don't see the signs, Steve, like what do you do? How do you search? How do you
have
know?
to be aware, right? Either you're way off base or you're on the path you're supposed to be on. I have this strange belief that the journeys that we have, and I have no reason to believe this other than I've always believed it since I was a kid, is we kind of map out the story we want when we come down to do this, to be on this planet. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to start here and I want to go there. And we may go off on tangents on the way there, but the universe will go, remember, this is what you actually want to do this time around or this. And so I knew ever since I was a kid, 7, 8 years old, watching the Oscars with my mom and saying, one day I'm going to be in Hollywood, and I'm going to, and just coming from the small town in England and finally finding myself there, and you just got to believe in the core of what you want, and that the universe will not necessarily provide exactly what you want, but will give you. It's like I always like to think about that song by Garth, Unanswered Prayers, where he sings about bumping into his old high school flame, the one that broke his heart. And he's like, wow, okay, that was a near miss. Basically is what he's saying. And we've all felt that at times, you bump into someone or the guy that got, the best story I ever heard was, Michael Caine's got this great book called From the Elephant to Hollywood. And I'm a huge Michael Caine fan. And he narrates the audiobook, which is great because he also kind of like annotates it as he goes along. And he talks about how he was involved in the development of the musical Oliver back in the day. And that he was the prototype, and he was going to play, as far as he knew, he was going to play Bill Sikes, who was like the big angry character. And when they decided to put the show on in the West End, they cast somebody else, and he was devastated. A year later, he's been he was in a movie called Zulu. He last minute casting because he was available. He had nothing going on. This is a guy who shared an apartment with Terrence Stamp and Sean Connery. And over the course of their friendships, Sean became James Bond. Terrence Stamp became a sex symbol actor. And he was like, I'm going to be the one that doesn't make it. And he said, a year and a half later, he's done Zulu, and Alfie has come out, and he's become a big star. And he's driving past the theater in my Rolls Royce, and the guy's still playing Bill Sikes.
Right.
And I was like,
yes.
right.
It's like the plan is better than you even imagine. Sometimes we think this is it, and universe or God, however you want to call it, it's like, no. You know what? I have a bigger, just be patient. I have a bigger plan for you. So what I'm hearing from you,
patience is the key. Yeah.
Yes. What I'm hearing from you is that little dream of being in Broadway for me is still an option in the future. So I'm gonna go with it. At some point, you'll see me in Broadway.
Why not?
That.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, why not? I sometimes go in and do talks to active friends of mine who run acting classes, and they're like, "Can you come and talk to the class about what it's like when you get your first television series?" Or and the first thing I'll say is, like, it took me 10 years to get my first television series. I mean, it took me 5 years to get my first speaking part as a guest star. Like, you just have to believe it's going to be you. And I would see people come and go all the time. People who were like the head of their acting class in high school, who were like the big one in class, got all the lead roles. And then they get to Hollywood and they realize there's always someone prettier, there's always someone more talented, but that's not what it's all about. There's so many other factors in becoming successful.
Yes.
So, and part of it is just being stubborn and sticking in. I remember doing an acting class once, and this guy, long before I was working, about a year and a half before I got Crossing Jordan. And this guy says to me, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? He says, he said, do you really think you're going to be successful? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? And he said, well, he says, look at me. He goes, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm Jewish. He said, I can play doctors, I can play lawyers. I can play all these different kind of types of character. He said, you're tall. I was very skinny at the time and with long hair. And he said, you're tall, you're skinny, you've got this big forehead, you've got, long hair. You're not really like a generic type, and I was offended at first, and then I said, well, you know what? I said, maybe I'll be my own type, maybe someone and that's what happened with Crossing Jordan. They wanted someone who kind of had my vibe, for this gothic character who worked in a morgue, and it worked. And then a couple of years later, he came on as a guest star on the show,
Nice.
when I was working on the series. And it was a very interesting moment. Must have been for him, but also like for me, and like, how do you play this? And I just was
Yeah.
like, welcome, let me show you around and introduce you to everybody. And now I've got to go to my trailer. So,
Yeah, it's not easy for you, Steve, because you're 6'4", so that already leading man
Wow.
role when the leading actresses are 5'1" nowadays. That
dude,
are kind of hampers you a little bit. But what I love about you
yeah,
and why I loved magic always growing up, and I loved
yeah,
acting because these are careers that we could do forever. Because I don't believe they're jobs, so I can see that in your energy, in your spirit. I see you acting till you're 100 plus because that's something that
hopefully,
you want to
yeah.
do forever. Is that something that inspires you, that longevity of just making people smile, and the creative process, which isn't really a job for us when you're an actor and a performer?
Yes, absolutely. The idea of well, but because I've always been a character actor, I've never been a leading man type of character. That gives me the opportunity to have to plumb in and out of roles and different kinds of things. But also, I always try to take the bull by the horns. So I've developed shows, I've sold series. We got one show on the air on Hallmark called The Gourmet Detective that I was an executive producer on. I'd originally sold it to USA Network, and I have this. My attitude is jump out of the plane, learn how to make the parachute on the way down. So, and that sometimes has bit me in the butt where I've been naive or not experienced enough to handle the situation that I created for myself.
Yeah.
But I always try to team up with people who know what they're doing and try to learn from them. So yeah, so like the writing, the producing side of things. I've sold a few series. I had a Houdini series that was at NBC a number of years back,
Nice.
right before period pieces took off. And I remember the network was like, yeah, we don't think anyone's going to be interested in watching period pieces on television. Boy, were they wrong, right? And
Yeah.
we're talking about, now I'm talking to a company about maybe we can bring it back because it's the 100th anniversary of Houdini's death this year. And so there's always something. I'll read a book. Like I just read a book called Confessions a year ago called Confessions of a Showman. And it's about this guy, Gerry Cottle. It was his biography. He was the big circus impresario for like 50 years in British entertainment. And he wrote a tell-all explosive biography where he sex, drugs, and clowns, essentially. And it just a beautiful book, eye-opening. And I reached out to his family because Gerry passed to COVID, and I got the rights to the book, and we attached a
wow.
writer in London just a couple of months ago. And it could be a tremendous television series, but for me it wasn't about like, oh, I got to go to lawyers, we got to go to agents, I was like, okay, how do I get in touch with the family and the person who co-wrote the book, reaching out to them online. I've done that twice now, where I just something affects me and I can't put it down, and I've got
Like
I've
these
got to
little.
pursue. Yeah. And I remember getting a call from Gerry's son the first time we were going to talk about it, and I was quite emotional because I'd read about him and I'd read about the family, and there was something about the book that was like, tell my story, and so
Wow.
um and again, you'd love it because it fits the vibe of the show. It's absolutely positive. It's a guy who knew what he wanted to be, left home at 13 to join the circus, literally escaped out of the house, and did everything from clean out the horses to learn to clown and eventually take over and run his own circus. But then in the 70s came the drugs and the battles with the government about animals, but everyone loved this guy because he just loved to make people laugh and to entertain people. That was the
Amazing.
key to everything he did. And so there's this love of giving people something positive and colorful in their lives, So
Yeah.
we hope now we're going to be pitching that, and we hope to, sell that. And what's interesting is, as an actor, I want to go, oh yeah, I'd love to play one of the roles in this. As a producer, my head goes, nah, I want to get someone big.
Yeah.
It's this contradiction of, yes, I could play it, but if we can get this guy, I'm happy.
No,
For the
but
greater
Steve, you
good.
are big.
For the
What do you
greater
mean?
good.
First of all, I
Wow.
can hear Steve. I can hear you talk about anything. So I look up your IMDb, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you're the voice of one of my favorite video games, Uncharted. I've only played one video game in the last 20 years, and it was
Oh.
Uncharted 2, which
Yeah.
I see
Oh,
your
that's
voices
funny.
on there.
Harry
Your voice,
Flynn.
your
Yeah.
voice amazing. When you audition
Yes.
for American roles, do they tell you eliminate your accent? We want neutral accents.
Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we want like an American standard kind of, relaxed kind of American accent without.
So you have to.
Yeah. And
That's
I remember
crazy.
originally my accents weren't very good. And I remember this casting director saying to me, like, can you do an American accent? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, of course I could possibly do one for you. She didn't hear it at all. She goes, well, let me know when you've worked on it and then you can come back and do I was trying to be clever. Yeah, they do. But sometimes, like, I mean, a lot of the time we find the British accent works in a weird way.
Right.
Crossing Jordan was a show that was set in Boston. So there's a huge Irish-British contingent there. So we were just like, maybe we'll just do that. And because also, if you try to do a Boston accent, it's one of the worst accents to do. It's so easy to do badly because it's such a difficult accent.
It is a difficult one, yeah.
Oh, my. So, yeah. And so rather than have us all butcher a Boston accent, we all kind of used our own accents in that.
That's good.
But it does, yeah, that happens a lot. With Harry, Flynn was interesting because I think he was English. But that was my first kind of, that and Dragon Age are my two first video games. And Nolan North, who plays the lead character in the video games, is also the voice. He does the voice of Christopher Walken, which is a weird thing to say, but when Chris Walken does a movie, he speaks very softly. A lot of the time he whispers, and sound can't pick it up, So Nolan goes in and dubs all of his movies. So a lot of the time, what you're hearing is Nolan dubbing Chris Walken because Chris doesn't dub. So, which is hilarious. So when we're working on that Uncharted movie, and he would just keep breaking into Christopher Walken, and tears running down. It was so great.
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, I know, I have one question. I'm really curious because not only you perform magic, but you also teach, right, online.
I do. I have
learn. Yes.
Yeah.
So, quick question
That
about
was something.
that because.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, just a very quick question because I know that's like a big no. Don't teach your tricks, right? Don't reveal your tricks. But you actually said, no, I want to teach. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you get backlash because of that?
No, because there's ways of doing it, right? There's ways of. So my online magic school is a course of various courses, but it's called Magic on the Go. It's at magiconthego.com. Again, this is something that came out after I got back into magic. I was like, had all of these ideas and didn't know what to do with them. And so I started filming them, and then I needed a home for it. And then it became a subscription service. Now I'm almost at 1,000 videos. Like it's insane. And the thing is that when you sign up for the school, it's this magic channel. It's not like you're online and, that's how a trick works. You have to sign up and you have to like commit financially and your time, right? You've got to. So for me, I'm teaching not just how to do it, but how to do it. So a lot of the guys online will just be like, oh, look at this. It's a false bottom in the box and that's how it works. And whatever. And that's just mean. What I'm trying to say is like, I have a love of the craft. So like, look at the history of it. Look at the people who created this. Here's what we can also do with it. Here's how to make it yours. Here's how you can present it. Here's how you can connect with an audience and entertain. All of those things, which are not taught these days. I try to put into the work that I do.
I love that. Where can they find that?
What's
Magic
that?
on the Go.
Magiconthego.com. Yeah.
Steve,
And
thank you. Thank you so much. Before closing us out, though, please, because there's so many people nowadays that they want to just manifest and they want to look for signs, but they don't put in the work. And you're a trained actor, trained magician, trained in every producer, director, and everything else. Inspire people that want to become actors, want to become magicians, want to become performers, but inspire them in a way that they also have to know that, yes, you need the faith and see the signs, but you also have to put in the work. Inspire us and move us, Steve.
First of all, there's the old joke about the guy who wanted to win the lottery, right? And the lottery came and went like 3 times, and finally he's like praying to God, and finally God says, hey, you can help me out, buy a ticket. You have to buy the ticket. That's the key. So you want to create your opportunities as much as you can. And part of that is being fearless, but also being aware. You don't want to be like, we had this one guy on our show who was a guest star who kept disappearing because we were on the Universal lot and he was trying to pitch his movies to Spielberg. He stopped Spielberg in a car and tried to hand him his headshot and resume and got kicked off the lot. That's too much, right? You got to be aware of what's appropriate. But you should always be positive and be going for it, but at the same time training yourself so that you're ready for the opportunity. I've made that mistake. Like I would meet people in the business. I would tell them about an idea I had for a television show, and they go, "Send us your pages." And looking back at the pages now that I sent, I mean, oh my God, no wonder they said no, thank you. But at least I just had to learn as I was going. But you want to always be learning. You want to always be realistic, but be realistic. But also, I want to say be realistic. No, I don't want to say be realistic. Be unrealistic, because the people who made it were unrealistic, and they found a way to break in. And look, everyone's going to tell you in any business, it's really hard. Being a broadcaster, I always wanted to be a journalist. I remember as a kid, and I met a newspaper man, and he talked me out of it. And years later, I said to him, "Why did you do that?" He said, "Well, if I talked you out of it, so it obviously wasn't meant for you." You know what I mean? He's like, "If you really had that passion, you would never have let me talk you out of it." So if there is something in the back of your head where you're like, I always wanted, I met a surgeon. He was an emergency room doctor in Miami. One of the most successful guys. He always wanted to be a concert pianist, but his parents like beat that out of him and made him become a doctor. He saved lives, but in his head, he was like, I always wanted to be playing with an orchestra. I think we're in a world now where you can. I think you can do all of it. We're in a world now that celebrates multifaceted skills. We see it all the time. I think it's okay to be a magician, an actor, a juggler, and anything else that you want to do. Whereas in the old days with the old guard and the gatekeepers and all the rest of it, we never could. So you've got YouTube. You've got the ability to film anything you want, edit in a way that's unreal. Get friends together, practice, learn about, listen to when you watch a movie, listen to the annotated remarks, because they're quite fun and you can learn a lot from that. Watch the documentaries, like all of the above. I think it's all there, and all the information is out there for you. You just don't give up and
Amazing.
stay positive, stay quietly positive.
Mm-hmm.
And see the
Amazing.
signs. Steve,
Yeah.
awesome.
I look
Where
for the
can we
signs.
follow you? Where can we follow you? Pitch again the Magic on the Go and everything you want to mention right now.
Yeah. Magic on the Go, magiconthego.com, because that's really where you're going to learn the secrets of the craft and all ways. And then there's a podcast, which I just finished the first season. It's called Magicians Only, but it's really for anyone who loves magic. And we delve into the history of it, crazy things that happened in the past that kind of mirror what's happening today. And I interview some really fun people, storytellers, comedians, on how to do crowd work, really fun kind of stuff. And so that's out. And then you can find me online at Instagram at Steve Valentine, or Facebook, or anyway, stevevalentine.com. I'm everywhere.
Follow you. We'll follow you. Like, I know my husband and my son, they're both huge fans of magic. So I told them I was going to interview you, and they even gave me some questions. I'm like, we're good,
Okay.
we're good. But Steve,
What's the
can you
question?
close the what?
What's the question? What did your son want to know?
Oh, my son is 13, and he's like, "Oh, can you ask him if he wasn't a magician, what would be the career choice?" I'm like, "Okay, that was a question we came up with."
That's a smart question. I mean, if I wasn't a magician, I'd be an actor. So I'm cheating.
That's what I thought.
I think the other career was the possibility of being a journalist. I always found that idea, or private investigator, but I was really too obvious to be a private investigator. The best ones are like the little guys who vanish into crowds, So for me,
you get back also into performing, because with the whole AI on where that's going, I got into painting, and I want to do plays, and I want to do theater and live aspects, because AI can take
they can't touch us on that. Is that I think there has been a resurgence in live after COVID. People needed to get out, but also now, especially, people are craving experiences, and they do want to get out. Although the second you do something, like I'll look at the audience and everyone's got their phone out, and I'm like, put your phone down, experiencing this live.
They're present.
But be present in the moment. But hey, you have to accept that. That's how people are taking in their content these days. So yes, I think live is. And the great thing about live is that you can travel all over the world. I've done shows for royalty. I've done shows on yachts.
Wow.
I've done shows in war zones. I've entertained the troops. Like, you get to travel the world and meet people and break the ice and see cultures and experience the world in a way that you wouldn't do if you were just staying at home. So I think that live is definitely
That's a
Do
beautiful
it.
That's
thing.
awesome.
Thank
Steve,
you.
a little
Thank
magic
you.
trick to close out our little show.
Well,
Can you
little-
honor us?
I don't know if let me see. Let me see if I can just do this.
What?
This is,
Were you just hanging on that the whole time?
yeah, it's been, look at this, the background. It's like it vanished. That's a camera trick, guys. I got to be honest with you. That's a camera trick. That's the background, but that looks good. I wish I could do that live. Let me see what
You
I can
get
do here.
two tricks in
But
one.
we do have this kind of, this idea of doing something in slow motion, and
There we
you
go.
can
That's
bend
so
these,
cool.
but yeah, but you can also just kind of take it and kind of rub it and make it disappear completely.
What?
And yeah, but I do like the vanishing. I do
Bravo.
like that. I do like that vanishing coin using AI. There you go.
That was an unexpected trick. I love it.
Yeah,
Those-
we don't teach that on Magic on the Go. We teach the reality, the real stuff. Yeah,
That's what you were talking about, making it better, right? The trick.
yeah, it totally. Yeah. That's amazing. It
For
works with
the
everything, with glasses and everything. Look, anything.
For the people who are listening, make sure that you watch this one on YouTube as well, because you don't want to miss that trick. Pablo, why
Yeah.
don't you close us?
She is Jennie López. I am Pablo Alsina. Our guest, the very own Steve Valentine. A complete honor. You inspired us. Keep shining a light on this
Thanks,
beautiful
guys.
world. Keep being an amazing person. You
Bye, gotcha.
absolutely rock. And this was very caliente.
Caliente.
Woo!
Muy caliente.
Woo!